Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Well, I got banned from Reddit before my post could even be approved by the sub-R aliens. Here it is. Burner account for obvious reasons. 11 years Navy, sonar technician surface rating. 8 of those at AUTEC Atlantic Undersea Test and Evaluation Center, Andros Island. Top secret with additional program access. Still bound by Standard Form 312 and other agreements. Nothing here violates those agreements. Everything is from direct observation or conversations with colleagues, most of whom are now dead or retired. Writing this because RADM Timothy Gallaudet is now saying publicly what I saw on watch for years. He was oceanographer of the Navy, deputy administrator of NOAA, published a white paper through Sol Foundation in 2024 calling for DoD to treat USOs as a research priority. If someone with his background can talk about this openly, I can document what I observed. Background on the facility. AUTEC was established 1966 under the Bureau of Ships, now NAVSEA. The eastern coast of Andros overlooks Toto. Toto is a U-shaped trench, roughly 20 miles wide by 150 long. Depth ranges 3,600 feet south to 6,600 north. Surrounding reefs create acoustic isolation, ambient noise among the lowest in the Atlantic. That's why we built there. Official mission is test and evaluation. Subcrews certify readiness. Torpedoes get tracked. Sonar systems calibrated. Weapons range tracks up to 63 in-water objects simultaneously via hydrophone arrays connected to shore by undersea cable. Technology descends from SOSUS sound surveillance system. First prototype was a 1,000-foot horizontal array of 40 hydrophones off Eleuthera, January 1952. The system used the SOFAR channel to track Soviet boats across thousands of miles. By the 60s, arrays ran from Barbados to Nova Scotia. I got to AUTEC as an E5. Standard work. Operate and maintain surface sonar. Analyze acoustic data. Classify contacts. Track subs running exercises. Log whale vocalizations. Shrimp noise. Commercial shipping. Learning what normal looks like. Virginia class sounds different from 688. A sperm whale sounds different from a beaked whale. After about 18 months, I started logging contacts that didn't fit known profiles. First one was during a mid-watch. Range quiet, no exercises scheduled. Around 0340, I picked up broadband signal 6 nautical miles northeast of Site 1. Definitely not mechanical. No shaft rate, no blade count, no machinery tonals. Not biological either. The frequency spread didn't match any cetacean in our database. Contact traveled 28 nautical miles in 12 minutes. Depth between 2,000 and 4,000 feet. That's approximately 140 knots. Mk48 80 cap maxes at 55. This was doing 3 times that with no cavitation. The watch supervisor looked at it and told me to log it as a possible system artifact. I asked about flagging for review. He said no. Over the next 5 years, I logged 14 similar contacts. Broadband signature, no mechanical source. Speed typically 80 to 200 knots. Variable depth, sometimes rising from below 4,000 feet to 500 feet in seconds. No cavitation, no wake. The problem was the BQQ10 system logic. It filters out non-threats automatically to reduce clutter on the display. These contacts were getting buried near the noise floor, so the system usually dropped them before they could be properly analyzed. I started running a manual workaround during quiet watches. I'd pull up the raw low-FAR gram on a secondary display window. Standard protocol uses short integration times to catch fast transients like torpedoes or submarines maneuvering. I did the opposite. I disabled the automatic gain control and pushed the integration time out to 10 seconds. Then I narrowed the FFT bin width down to 0.1 Hz. This smears the display with noise, but it allows a consistent low-energy source to stack over time. The random ocean noise averages out to gray while any coherent signal accumulates and becomes visible. It's a way of maximizing processing gain when you're trying to pull something out of the noise floor. Using this method, I was able to resolve what looked like a continuous wave tonal around 52 Hz. Not a typical frequency for machinery. Most shaft rates and blade harmonics fall between 100 to 400 Hz. This was way below that. Wasn't an acoustic signal. The hydrophone transducers were picking up electromagnetic interference in the analog stage before digitization. It looked like a carrier wave on the display. Perfectly flat line, no modulation, no harmonics. At 140 knots, you should see a Doppler shift, but there wasn't any. Whatever was generating the EM field was moving with the contact. First class I worked with, I'll call him Harris, noticed what I was doing one night. Asked me about the technique. I showed him the long integration method and the results. He told me he'd seen similar data at NavFac Bermuda in the late 80s before it closed. Old hands there called them fast movers. Nobody discussed it officially. People who pushed got reassigned. Harris also told me something I later verified through other channels. During the Cold War, the Soviets had their own problem with anomalous acoustic contacts. Their submariners called them Croakers because of a distinct low-frequency signature on passive sonar that sounded like frogs. Soviet naval intelligence ran a dedicated research program on it from the early 70s through roughly 1988. We knew about their program. We had correlated data. The signatures they were logging as Croakers matched what we were logging as system artifacts or unknown biologics. Their program got shut down when the USSR collapsed and the funding dried up. Ours apparently never existed in the first place. A few years in, I got orders to a facility in Virginia. Command said it was a SME exchange on sonar processing improvements. IOTech sends operators to NUWC Newport periodically for technical consultations, so I didn't think much of it. The facility was a commercial office park in a suburban area, Esquiff inside. 2 civilians, 106. They had raw acoustic data from what they said was a North Atlantic SOSIS array and asked me to find the signal. I ran the same workaround I'd been using at IOTech. Extended integration time, narrow bins, AGC off. It took me about 40 minutes, but I isolated 3 contacts their automated systems had missed completely. They asked how I knew to look for it that way. Told them I didn't know what I was looking for. Just been experimenting with different processing methods to see what the standard algorithms were filtering out. It turned into a formal read-in. Additional NDAs, 2 polygraphs, CI scope, then lifestyle. Waived unacknowledged SAP per 10 USC 119. They offered me a billet at a shore-based facility doing similar work. Accepted it. Did that for about 3 years until I separated. Can't discuss what I learned in that program. The only thing I'll say is this. If you're ever offered a way to extend your life indefinitely, no matter what they promise you, refuse it. Can't explain why, just don't. I left active duty a few years back. Contract work for 2 years in the private sector, kept quiet until now. Shag Harbor, 1967, logged by Canadian DND as UFO entering water. Divers searched for days, found nothing. The theory is that the object traveled underwater to a sub-detection facility near Shelburne, met another craft, and departed. Can't verify. Sound propagates efficiently through SOFAR channels. Anything wanting to cross ocean basins undetected would know how. July 2019. USS Omaha filmed a spherical object entering the Pacific. No splash. Pentagon confirmed footage. No wreckage recovered. I stopped being surprised by these reports years ago. NOAA says we've explored less than 20% of the ocean. Disclosure accelerating is why I'm writing now. 2017 New York Times on AATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. 2019 Navy confirmed Nimitz and gimbal footage. 2021 UAPTF report. 2022 NDAA added transmedium to UAP definition. 2023 Grush testified to House oversight. 2024 Gallaudet white paper. People with way more to lose than me are going on record. Some are confirming things I saw evidence of. After I got read into that program, I started noticing things differently. Certain billionaires are very publicly obsessed with beating death. Peter Thiel wrote he stands against the ideology of the inevitability of the death of every individual. Bezos, Ellison, others pouring billions into longevity research. At first I figured it was just rich guys scared of dying. Not so sure anymore. I think some of them might know what's being offered. Don't know who's accepted what, just know the enthusiasm comes from somewhere. I stood watch, logged data, and developed a workaround that apparently mattered. Got to read into something I can't talk about. Did the work, got out. That's all I've got. I know it's not much, but I figured it might be worth sharing anyway. I don't know about 2027, but look after each other, help people who need it, keep your integrity intact. That matters more than any of this.
OP, what are the institutional safeguards preventing you from leaking this anomalous data to the public? Say, for example, are you deprived of all your personal belongings like a cell phone to stop you from recording the sensor system screen? Do you work with an armed guard watching your back? Are you Tesla brain-chipped like a dog to track you after work?
You're thinking about it wrong. They don't need armed guards watching you. The security is structural. Everything happens in a SCIF-sensitive, compartmented information facility. No phones, no devices of any kind. You get physically searched going in and pass through a metal detector coming out. The spaces have tempest shielding for RF isolation. No windows. White noise generators. Some facilities have copper mesh built into the walls. Inside, everything is compartmented. You only see the data relevant to your specific task. I was brought in to process acoustic signatures, so that's what I saw. Didn't see intercept reports, didn't see recovery operations, didn't see material analysis, or get read into policy discussions. Different people in different SCIFs working different programs. Nobody has the whole picture except maybe a handful at the very top, and I'm not even sure about that. The data itself never leaves the system. You work on air-gapped terminals with no USB ports and no outside network connection. Results get printed on a specific printer that logs every page, and those pages stay in the SCIF in a GSA-approved safe. You can't take notes home or sketch something on a napkin at lunch. Can't discuss it outside the SCIF, even with other people who have clearances. They polygraph you regularly. Not just at the initial read-in, but every 6 months, sometimes more if something concerns the security officer. They ask specific questions about whether you've discussed classified information or attempted to remove materials. You lie, the box catches it, your clearance gets pulled, and you face possible prosecution. You also sign documents acknowledging criminal penalties under the Espionage Act. Title 18, Section 793 and 798. Then there's SF 312, where you acknowledge in writing that unauthorized disclosure causes irreparable injury to national security.
So here's the deal, man. You know most of the words and it all sounds super cool. The problem is no one is going to have any credibility for your claims because you cannot provide a plausible reason for getting out of the game. Me, I started shitting blood from all the stress and nearly getting blown up too many times. Started as a smag in Guam and ended up in IS-1 field ops in Trashcanistan as a good little glowy. The only thing I'll say is this: if you're ever offered a way to extend your life indefinitely, no matter what they promise you, refuse it. Can't explain why, just don't. Heard it before once in Tallinn. back around 2012. Talked about it with some of the Tartu exolinguistics group around that same time. If you know, you know. Heard most of the same stuff you did, it seems. I also posted stuff on the Cuboid thread a few months back. Look for it on 4Plebs and see what you can cross-reference. I am the bubblehead talking shit to OP pretending to be a bubblehead, though he did know ultra-esoteric bubblehead knowledge, like the color of the shit valves in the forward head. Anyway, why did you get out and how the fuck can I get back in? My SF-86 ran out, and I am staring at 40 more years of America slipping into the cesspool of collapse, looking for more adventure work. They know who I am from the other posts. Bachelor for life, prior deployments, prior top secret, field ops, bored off my ass. Nothing to lose. Call me Glowies.
I suspect there are ahistoricals that populate certain levels within segmented systems. Certain cells isolate them from too much scrutiny. The power they do have from our current mill setup means they can always find a way to issue ID as needed. People have always lived forever, Nonya. Tell me, what do you know of entering contracts with beings not of this world? You have to do something for them. Worship them, sacrifice things or people, do malicious things. It's codified. Call it what you will. Skinwalkers, jinn, gods, demons, there is something here. OP, I'm going to ask you a different question. I am considering going to Army 35F. What career path do you recommend to get into the real shit? Should I get my degree and go officer? What's the ideal way to get closer to the truth?
Google the Cuboid thread. You'll recognize my voice there. Just another smag popping my mouth off. I got out of active duty, went to Intel Field Ops, did a few tours in Trashkanistan, Baltics, Stanistans, 20-plus countries. Typical emotional flatline life living out of a duffel bag for years. Got a few close-call sniper shots, missed a mortar by 30 feet and 30 seconds one time, slept through an RPG hitting my T-wall outside the Konex box, and all sorts of sleep deprivation missions, blah blah blah. Did ISR out in Bagram, Kandahar for a while as a filthy contractor. I was the man who would bridge the gap between incompetent shooters and impotent intelligence analysts. One could fuck, but didn't have a brain. The other couldn't fuck and had a brain. Someone has to translate. Fucking hilarious and enraging to have to preach the gospel of just using a belt-fed or .50 cal to clear an IED in place, rather than just Looney Tunes driving over them all the time. Got tired of it all. Now super bored waiting for 40 more years to happen. Unreasonably healthy. Know too much, and have done everything on the bucket list, so crossing the river isn't a big deal to me. I used to do all the dirty shit spooks are known for the mission, of course. I know a little bit about the rhenium thing out west a bit from Ghazni and Koyagani village. Super interesting. I shared a green bean one time with the man who first told me about the PSVS and the LIPC testing going on down in the Rajasthan desert south of Kandahar. I was there when Sentinel got stolen by Iran. Those dudes were pissed.
What are you talking about? Can you divulge more? Clearly agitated Anon?
Not much to divulge. Just an otherwise normal glowy who did what any of you here would do. Have conversations with people who are professionally curious. You hear all kinds of shit. Who knows what is true? Besides, I am not surprised that all of OP is legit. A lot of people who are involved in intel work usually end up working stupid long hours for shit pay, high divorce rates, and the backdrop of collapse doesn't help either. Nothing is sexy and cool enough, not even aliens, for some people to leave for better pay. A spouse they can see often, children they love and all that. Hardly ever are they ever able to recruit people who have few connections. I wouldn't be surprised if OP got out as he said and enjoyed life as a civilian. Either way, agitation or not, I think OP is telling the truth on his numbers and details. I would like to hear what he thinks about the shepherd's tone I mention in the context of USOs. I put it in the cuboid thread and am too lazy to get it from the archive. If OP wants to chat tech details, we can chat.
Doppler compensation gets complicated if the source is accelerating non-linearly. The hydrogen-oxygen resonance theory is interesting, but cavitation mechanics work differently. It's about collapse temperatures, not selective frequency response by atom type. Would need to isolate propulsion signature from biological and shipping noise in overlapping bands. Interesting problem to think through. Yeah. I used to be pretty driven. Advancement, performance, proving I could handle the work. That kind of thing mattered. What I learned made all of that feel hollow. Not in a depressing way, just pointless. Made it hard to keep doing the job the same way. Separated not long after because I couldn't go back to caring about the things you're supposed to care about in that world. Some people can hold both perspectives at once. I couldn't. The shift cost me, but I don't regret it.
Array processing helps but doesn't solve the SNR problem. If the signal's buried in noise, you still need processing gain before beamforming gives you anything useful. You're right that with enough fast Fourier transform resolution, you could see a 52 Hz line. Issue is the signal was near the noise floor. Without extended integration to build SNR, it looked like random noise variation, not a coherent source. Standard operational displays update too fast to accumulate that gain. I had to deliberately slow the update rate and extend averaging time to make it visible. No harmonics, perfectly flat line. That's a pure sinusoid by definition.
The SNR problem. There isn't one. Nope. Read up on ultra-wideband spread spectrum on the radio domain. It is just elaborate chirp signals which are phase offset to correlate to the modulated signal. The funny part is, the more distinct each of the phase offset chirps are, the better the signaling. You'll recognize it in the LoRa chips being used now. It plays on that old trick that background noise is white noise, but the synchronized chirps between transmitters creates little solitons which make the waveform have better penetration through radio-opaque items. This is the same approach as rotational polarization of radio signals to better penetrate concrete and such for a lower radiated power. In the acoustic domain, below noise floor signaling is precisely what is done when you guys did those frequency sweep chirps. They are audible during transmit, but all you are doing globally is emitting a giant fucking LoRa-type signal in the acoustic domain. Those below noise floor datacomms are also exactly as useful as you might think. Very good for pinging long ranges below noise floor and getting a ping back below noise floor. Also sacers. That's a pure sinusoid by definition. That depends, my man. Those old-time analog front-end processors would sometimes use a high-resolution timer and a zero-voltage crossing comparator to extract the frequency of an input waveform, while not actually processing the waveform. The super cheap way was to just make that the increment trigger on something like a double-buffered 32-bit accumulator providing both differential and absolute values. A square wave will provide the exact same frequency reading as a sine wave will when that approach is used. Unless the acoustic front end has full waveform frequency extraction, along with sending the current spectrum distribution along with each data frame, you need to pull the raw waveform data from the transducer itself. That isn't always the same data stream sent to display and targeting. Also, full recording a waveform at upper kilohertz for months on end across the entire array just doesn't happen. Even worse for the new sonar systems using optical digital data transfer. Most of that is just metadata from the transducer, sometimes with an optional Ethernet connection to pull waveform extractions. Gotta look at the waveforms.
You're talking about matched filtering. That works below the noise floor, but only if you have a replica to correlate against. Fine for LoRa or active sonar where you have the keys. I didn't have a library signature for an unknown contact. No replica means no correlation. You're stuck with spectral integration. Also, LoRa is linear frequency modulation. Solitons are non-linear wave packets, different physics. The zero crossing method fails in high ambient noise. The noise floor just trips the comparator constantly. That's why we use fast Fourier transforms. A square wave shows up as a fundamental peak plus odd harmonics. I saw a single isolated line. That confirms a pure sinusoid. You're right about the storage, though. We don't archive raw element data for months, but the ring buffer lets you pull the live feed.
Either way, the signal is there. You need full waveform capture at around 500 kilohertz and then can do it in batch processing. All you really have to do is have a timestamp at microsecond level for each sample on the waveform. From there, doing a time of arrival analysis and extracting the ISO surface from that and performing a really quick raycast backwards is more or less the same thing as the old triangulation by vectors trick, which is great, but lightweight on data. As some interesting lore, the old wake detection systems used on the first flight 688 boats, and some Russian boats too, were some of the first ways these rascals were picked up. The original wake detector system, as you might recall from your quals, was used for auto-following on the Parche, and I think now on the Jimmy Carter too, though I am not sure. Anyway, the wake detector circuit was made for that at or near noise floor level stuff, to detect the wake from the screw, seawater pumps, etc., regardless of rig for ultra quiet. When full waveform capture and analysis decently took off around the late 90s, especially when TI started making a lot of their digital signal processing all-in-one chips, is when the proper analysis happened. You'll see more Shepard's tones and below noise floor stuff when you look at full waveform, not just triggered data, even if the front end sends multi-frequency metadata. Part of it, I think, has to do with the propulsion system using phonons to pump water around on an active surface, similar to our new plasma slipstream aircraft. They emit weird tones in the radio domain because of the plasma sheath, no so much different than the sonar situation. I think it is just super efficient engineering on the alien part, that's all.
Having worked around facilities with defense contracts, it's set up in a similar fashion. If Boeing is building a new armored helicopter, subcontractors only work to build specific parts in a vacuum, often not knowing how everything pieces together, so this checks out. As to what you can't discuss, any hints as to what it was? How many individuals do you think know the big picture of what is going on? My biggest skepticism of the whole cover-up thing is that it ascribes competency and grand organization when in reality, most governmental functions are fragmented messes.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more Greentext will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.